Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. A women's health author says some expert quotations she contributed to an article about menstruation have been censored because she used the word woman. Well, Milli Hill joins me now. Milli, welcome to the show. So can I ask you, what happened here?
Hi,
what were you
Andrew,
asked to do?
Well, because I've written a book for young people, for girls, about periods, I was asked over the summer if I would give some what they call kind of expert quotes for the article. So just, you know, a few things in my own words to help the journalist out. And she would then, there was no payment involved, but she would then quote me and, you know, give my book a plug, basically. So that's what I did.
Now, this was a website that was sponsored by Always, who create sanitary pads, obviously. So you would have thought that the word woman would naturally come up in this kind of article, yes?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, it's an article about periods, but I mean, I'm well used. You know, I actually keep quite a close eye on what's happening with the erasure of women from language. So it wasn't an unusual thing for me to anticipate that there might be some gender neutral language used in the article. But what was shocking was that they made my words gender neutral without my consent. In fact, it was against my specific consent. So I'd actually spoken to them about this issue, and because I'd noticed another article that they'd done, which was also sponsored by Always. And the website's called Good to Know, by the way. They'd done another article also sponsored by Always about talking to young people about periods, and they'd taken all mention of women and girls out of it. So I said to them, I don't mind being involved in your article, but I don't want you to erase, you know, sex from my words. And yet they still went ahead and did it.
So they did this without your consent, without letting you know. Do they not realise, and particularly when you've got a group like Always who are sponsoring this, are they not troubled that what they're effectively doing here is insulting their customer base?
Yeah, it's strange. It's hard to understand, but it seems to be so widespread. I mean, that's the important point, I think, is that this wasn't for me, this isn't an isolated incident at all. It's quite unusual for me to be placed so right in the middle of it, because normally I'm watching other people doing it, and then it actually happened to my own words. But every website about menstruation and periods, loads of the websites about birth, loads of articles and content on the topic of women's health have the language change like this now. It's so standard.
But it doesn't seem to happen to men. But they don't start talking about men as prostate havers and that kind of thing. Why do you think this is so clearly targeted towards women?
Because I'm afraid to say, I think this is a men's rights movement. What's wanted here is they want it to be possible for men to be women. And in order for that to be possible, you have to detach the concept of female biology from the concept of woman. And in order to do that, you have to work linguistically, and you have to target these specific areas which belong to female biology, like periods, like childbirth, like even menopause. And once you've done that, once you've got people like me to admit, all of this female biology has actually got nothing to do with being a woman, and you're laying the path open for self-ID, for men to say, I'm a woman, because you've removed that barrier, that very complex and must be quite frustrating barrier for men who want to be women, you know, because that's the one thing they can't do. So they have to, linguistically at least, try to uncouple those two concepts of woman and female biology. So I think that it's very deliberate, and I think it's obvious that it's happening because it's only happening to women's language. It's obvious that this is about men's rights to identify as women, and biology is the barrier to that.
Well, Milli Hill, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but thank you for speaking out on this, because I think it's a very important issue, so much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
So that is the end of the first hour of Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. But please, don't go anywhere, because we've got an awful lot to come between now and 9 o'clock. We'll be talking about the online safety bill, and we'll be getting more questions from our lovely audience.